Yay Networks.
Play your cards right and you'll never have to pay for full price travel again. So it's really important to take a look at your budget, your lifestyle habits, and your spending goals. But by doing so, you can really rack up points that you can use and later redeem them for free or discounted travel.
I'm Molly Kimball. Welcome to Fueled, a wellness and nutrition podcast. I'm a registered dietitian and nutrition journalist with a passion to help people live their strongest, healthiest life possible. In my weekly TV segments and columns, there's a limited amount of time and space to cover everything, but there's so much more to share. This podcast is my opportunity to dive deeper into the topics you want to know about. Welcome to episode 4 of our Dream Bold travel series. So I am here with Scott Wonke, physical therapist at Ochsner Health with me. And as you know, as I hope you know by now, we are hosting a 12-part series. It's a Dream Bold travel series that is supported by our Ochsner Health and Wellness Solutions. And this is based on The Dream Manager. It's a fantastic book by Matthew Kelly. If you haven't been familiar with this, it's an easy, quick read. But we, with Ochsner Health and Ochsner Health and Wellness Solutions specifically, we're actually taking the concepts that are outlined in the Dream Manager and incorporating them into our real lives. So this 12 weeks, Scott and I have put together an incredible panel of experts. Samantha Rosen is our guest for this episode, for our 4th episode. And Samantha is brilliant in all things budget travel. So how do you maximize points with credit cards, with hotels? How do you do the different types of reward systems? How do you know what's worth it, what to steer clear of? So she's brilliant in this. She actually first joined the Points Guy. She was their first ever full-time social media editor. She knew really nothing about travel. She didn't even have a credit card. So she had to learn firsthand a lot of how these things even work. And so she learned how to really easily communicate it to the layperson because she was learning it herself. So she now contributes to the Point Guy's sister site, which is called Next Advisor. We'll have links of how to connect with Samantha. But I think that you guys are going to love what you hear from her. She's just incredibly passionate about it. She's incredibly well-versed, and she'll break it down for us of where and how we can get started. So with that, I'm going to join the Zoom that we have done in real time, and we also recorded simultaneously for this podcast. All right. So welcome, Samantha. We are really excited to have you joining Scott and I in this adventure travel series that we're doing with our Dream Bold series. So before we get into the full wealth of knowledge that you have to share with us on points and travel, tell us your backstory and how you know so much, and also your connection to New Orleans.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with everyone about one of my favorite things, which is travel and points. So I actually graduated from Tulane. So I am so jealous of you all in New Orleans right now. It's my absolute favorite place. I miss it so much. And you know, you guys get it. New Orleans is such an incredible city, and that really kind of sparked my love for travel and, you know, studying different cultures, getting to know different communities. And that's a whole central part of living in New Orleans and going to Tulane, I believe. So after college, I graduated with a marketing degree, worked a little bit in marketing and communications for a law firm, as well as another digital media startup, before kind of getting my quote unquote big break at the Points Guy, which is a huge travel media platform. I was one of the first 15 or 20 employees where I helped really grow the site's social media presence and strategy before moving to the editorial team after about 2 years. So I was at TPG, the Points Guy, for a little over 3 years. And then this past summer, I moved teams within our same parent organization, which is Red Ventures. They're based in right outside of Charlotte. And I moved to the Next Advisor team, which is partners with Time Magazine, where my coverage really spans travel, credit cards, maximizing your points and miles, helping you save money, which I think, especially nowadays, people are ready to travel. They're ready to get back on the road. They want to save money while doing it. So I got lots of tips and tricks up my sleeve, and definitely the SparkNotes version, but I'm excited to chat and, share some of my knowledge.
And when you started at the Points Guy, how old were you?
Yeah, how old was I? 24, I believe.
And you hadn't done a lot of travel, and you hadn't.
No. And it's so crazy because I had a debit card And I think that though that was really what was helpful because it was my job to translate. I was our social media manager. I was managing all of our content across Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, everything. And if I didn't know what we were talking about, how are we ever going to grow? How are we ever going to reach new audiences? And I think that that was so instrumental in really like being a crash course on Points 101. I ended up writing our beginner's guide on the site, which is a huge content tentpole for us. And basically like Points 101, like start here and be on time, you know? But yeah, now I have 8 credit cards. So you could say I've learned a thing or two.
So it's like you said, you were the perfect person for it because there's so much lingo in it and there's so much assumptions that people make. Like my husband does all this points travel. And when he talks to people about points, like fellow points users who are really like they're navigating it, there's kind of all this like almost an unwritten language and understood. So that's that's why we wanted to bring you on, is to kind of help break this down. And so when someone is saying like, okay, I have no idea where to start, maybe they do only have a debit card. And it's sort of one of those things I think people get nervous about because they may feel like a debit card helps them be responsible. And oh my gosh, what if I get these credit cards and I start, you know, racking up these things. So the idea isn't start spending more because you have a credit card, but it's
anything is the opposite.
But being wise with how you're spending the money. So
absolutely.
What's kind of, and I guess, what's your high level overview for us? Because I think we'll be talking about the basics and points and miles. You'll be talking about which credit cards and how to earn these points and miles and airline basics, using your points to start to travel. So where do we start?
There's so many things. Well, okay, the first thing that I want to say, and if you take nothing else away from this chat, remember this, that earning, like getting a credit card and earning points and miles, it's not monopoly money. And you should never, you know, buy more than what you can afford to spend. It's so important to pay your bills on time and in full every single month. Otherwise, the interest that you'll have to pay on your bills is going to negate any, you know, points or miles that you've earned on your credit card. So, you know, that's overall important to financial health and your lifestyle habits. So please pay your bills and don't rack up credit card debt just to earn free travel. That said, you know, there's so many different ways to earn points and miles, and I know how intimidating it can be. So trust me, I was in, you know, everyone's beginner shoes not that long ago. So there's a few main ways. The most common way is either by, as far as like earning credit card points, getting a credit card and earning the sign-up bonus, which is basically saying, you know, you spend a certain amount of money and a certain amount of time on our credit card and you earn a certain amount of points. It can vary from, you know, credit card to credit card, even issuer to issuer, such as Amex or Chase. So it's important to find one that really matches, you know, your budget and your financial goals as well. Another way to earn those is just by everyday spending. And again, you know, cards can have what's called elevated, you know, a bonus structure that you'll earn more points on dining. Maybe you'll earn more on airfare or travel or groceries. And again, varies from card to card. So it's so important to take a look at any given credit card before you decide to sign up for it and say, okay, this makes sense because I spend, you know, a good amount of money on dining in New Orleans, you know, of course, or even groceries, or I actually fly a lot. So I want to find a card that will reward me for spending a lot of money, you know, on flights. So those are the two main two. Can definitely touch on a few more, such as airline shopping portals, dining reward programs. But yeah, I would say the sign-up bonus and just everyday spending on your credit card are really simple and effective ways, and you'll see those points add up really quickly.
So if someone has been using a debit card, there's really no reward. Debit cards have no reward. So
yeah, exactly.
If that's sort of been your method of payment for things, has been your debit card, you're saying, okay, in order to even start to use points, we've got to rethink that.
Absolutely. I like to joke, it has no point, pun intended. So, you know, with a debit card, you're just spending and you're not really getting anything in return, versus having a credit card. You know, you can earn those points on things that you would be buying anyway, whether it's just going to the grocery store, going to, you know, pick up some things at Rite Aid or Walmart or whatever it is. But again, it's so important to not just buy things just because you have a credit card. We absolutely don't want you racking up debt here.
And then as you start to accumulate these points and miles, you say that thinking of points and miles almost as its own type of a currency. Yeah,
it's so all points and miles, whether it's from a credit card or, miles that you earn when flying on an airline such as Delta, American, etc. They're all a different type of currency. They can all be redeemed for future travel, depending on what type of currency it is, depends on what you can redeem it for. But yeah, they're all a different type of currency. They have different values depending on, what currency it is. It's not a hard and fast rule. There's no exact science here. But typically credit card points such as Chase Ultimate Rewards points or American Express membership rewards points are more valuable than miles that you would earn on an airline. That's because you can use credit card points from Chase, Amex, Citi, and Capital One, for example, on airlines and hotels. And whereas, miles that you earn on American Airlines, for example, you can only use those on American or its partners. So a lot of information, but we'll dig in a lot.
Well, I really like how this is the same advice that you would give the 24-year-old you who said, you didn't know anything about it versus an older seasoned person like myself. Are there any other differences as far as someone starting out versus someone who's been around?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that within the, points and miles community, there can be a tendency to go for these high-end premium cards with annual fees, upwards of $550. That's a lot of money. So don't feel like you need to bite off more than you can chew just so that you have a credit card and you're earning points. If you want to kind of just start off small and get a no annual fee card, my personal first credit card was the Amex Everyday card. It's a no fee card. You earn bonus points just on, more everyday spending. It's nothing crazy, but it was really helpful for me to kind of dip a toe in the pool, if that makes sense. So for anyone just starting out, don't feel like, you need to get the Amex Platinum or the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, just as some examples right off the bat.
What about those cards that we've all been on a plane when it's landing and they said, oh, we've got this great deal for you. If you sign up right now, we've only got 40 spots. What are those credit cards like?
Yeah, I always laugh when I hear the flight attendants talk about those. I'm just like, you're speaking my language over here, I guess. So those are what is known as a co-branded card, whether it's an airline or a hotel. So issuers, again, such as Chase or American Express, for example, will partner with various airlines and hotels to help you earn bonus points or miles for the given airline or hotel. So I use co-branded credit cards, but those are for hotels and or airlines that I fly frequently or stay in those hotels frequently. But if you typically only stay in Marriott hotels or you don't really even travel that much, it's silly to get a Hilton credit card, just as an example. But if you are kind of a road warrior and you stay in Hilton hotels every other week and, or you want to rack up the points to stay in the Waldorf Astoria downtown, then it might be helpful to get one of those co-branded cards. But that said, I wouldn't recommend signing up for the ones on the plane. I forgot the exact statistics here and the exact numbers, but I think more often than not, you'll get better deals by signing up online, either, directly from the site versus on the plane. So I would be a little wary.
We have a Southwest credit card. It's a Southwest Visa. Right. So that's what you mean by co-branded. And so
exactly
when we use
that's a perfect example.
When we can use it specifically for flights, but really, I guess it's largely limited to just flights. We don't have the option to then turn it into as much other things. Okay.
Exactly. So every time that you put anything on that card, whether you go to GW Fins for dinner or you stop and pick up something at Rouse's or whatever it is, you're earning Southwest points, which you can only then use for Southwest flights. Again, there's nothing, if that's your goal here and you're just like, I want to earn a lot of Southwest points, then go for it. Is if you want a little bit more flexibility and saying, I want to just have, a big stash of points that I know I'll later use for a hotel stay or a flight on, not any airline, because you can't necessarily transfer to every single airline, but on a certain, airline, you do have more flexibility versus a co-branded card.
So like in our situation, it makes sense because there's a lot of different Southwest flights out of New Orleans. And even if we are flying somewhere internationally, and kind of just saying this to our audience too, if we're flying somewhere internationally, or even like we'll use that Southwest free flight to get us to the to the jumping off point to Los Angeles or New York or Atlanta. And then that flight there is essentially free. And then we may do the international flight from there. And so kind of just seeing which makes the most sense. So credit cards are one, and then knowing, okay, which ones give me miles that can be multi-use, and then which ones are specifically tied to airline or hotels. And then what's kind of, when we're still talking like points and miles, hotel rewards programs, these are huge too.
They're huge. Oh yeah, absolutely. So hotel chains such as Marriott and Hilton, Hyatt and IHG, they all have hotel loyalty programs. So it's free to sign up. Highly recommend signing up for all of them because, again, it's free. There's no harm in signing up. And then every time that you stay in, a Marriott hotel. So, for example, I'm hopefully, fingers crossed, coming to Jazz Fest and staying, somewhere downtown, likely at a Marriott hotel. If I pay in cash for it, I would earn points, Marriott points for that I can later use, for another free stay somewhere else down the line. Same thing goes for Hilton, Hyatt, IHG. And I actually recently worked on a lot of coverage for these on the Next Advisor site. So you can definitely go check those out on Next Advisor. We have these pretty in-depth guides to Hilton and Hyatt, Marriott, IHG about what their, hotel points are worth, how to get more, and kind of how to use them efficiently.
I'm making a note. We'll link to that. And
for sure.
In our notes to our Zoom audience and also in the podcast notes. Yeah. So basically, awesome. That's fantastic. Okay. And then other kind of how-tos.
I love Jazz Fest. It's going to be October this year. So
I know it's like so perfect. Amazing. Fingers crossed. They just need to announce the lineup already. Like, come on, guys. It's time. So, yeah.
So credit cards are one big, I'm kind of going through, we're also one of the article that Samantha mentioned it's still on the Points Guy. And it's kind of refreshed with current information. Sure. Credit cards and which ones to have in your wallet. Which ones do you keep personally?
Yeah. Great question. So again, I've been doing this now for 4+ years. So my position on it is probably a little bit more advanced than the average beginner user. So I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Amex Platinum, the Amex Gold, which is probably my most used card because I like to go out to eat. Thank you, New Orleans education. What else do I have? I have the Amex Everyday that I mentioned before, as well as the Chase Freedom and the Chase Freedom Unlimited. And I don't think I forgot any, but that's kind of.
Is it 3 different Chase ones and 3 different Amex ones?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, and I have the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant, which is a co-branded card between Marriott and American Express. It comes with really cool perks, but it is a high fee premium, a high annual fee, card. So it's important with any card really to make sure that you're going to use the perks of the card before you sign up for it, especially if it does have that, high annual fee. But I think that, I was just going to say, I think that my kind of like credit card portfolio, so to speak, kind of is well-rounded in the sense of there's a few Chase, there's a few Amex, there's a hotel co-branded. I'm not necessarily loyal to any given airline, so it didn't make sense for me to have an airline co-branded credit card. But I know that, I can kind of maximize spending in different categories with these different cards and have diverse points portfolios, as they say, so that I can use those for, any future travel that comes up.
Is it something that you think would help our audience to hear why it's 3 different Amex ones and 3 different Chase ones? Like what is the benefits of those? Because I think that
for sure,
to me, they all seem like if right. Like I have, it seems like
Yeah.
But clearly there's a reason you have 3 different Amex and 3 different Chases.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's for sure a lot. And again, like, I do not want to tell beginners here, go and get 7 credit cards. Like, please don't do that. Please don't bite off more you can chew. Like, please just start small and like, you'll get there. But I do think actually what your readers would appreciate, on my Chase Sapphire Reserve, there's a new benefit where you can get up to $120 in statement credits to Peloton for your Peloton membership. And of course, everyone and their mother has a Peloton these days. The Chase Sapphire Preferred also has a $60 statement credit. So definitely worth looking into, you know, if you are an avid Peloton user and want to get some money off on things that you'd be spending anyway. Those cards could be worth looking into. But yeah, so I use my Chase Sapphire Reserve for the $300 travel credit particularly. It earns 3 points per dollar on all travel, such as, you know, airfare, flights, same thing, airfare, hotels, even Uber and Lyft rides, trains, subway. So I'll use it for like maximizing on those travel things.
So you're using that one specifically when you're traveling to pay for that travel because it gives you a triple reward?
Yep.
Did I hear
exactly.
that right? Okay.
Yep, exactly. So like, you know, if I'm looking to book a hotel in upstate New York, for example, just for, you know, a long weekend trip, I would likely use my Chase Sapphire Reserve card because they were 3 points per dollar on whatever the hotel is. And, you know, a few hundred points isn't going to get you anywhere overnight, but they add up over time. And that's really how you play the game, is these things keep adding up.
And what's the usual rewards if it's not travel related? Is it like 1 point per dollar?
Yeah, it depends on the card. Most travel cards do earn at least 1 point per dollar on all general purchases and then have bonus points for other purchases. For example, the Chase Sapphire Reserve is 3x on dining as well as travel. Okay. The Amex Gold is 4x on dining, not travel, 3x on airfare. It's a lot to keep track of. We do have all this written down on the site on Next Advisor as well. So definitely, you know, can go check that out for a little bit more breakdown so that you're sitting down for sure, because I know it's a lot. But yeah, you know, on that note, I use my Amex Gold for the 4x on dining because that's the highest, you know, category on that. I spend a lot on dining and groceries. I live in New York City, so now that things are opening up, that's, you know, it's fun. And then I use the 120 dining statement credit that I get on the Amex Gold as well as 120 in Uber Cash. I forgot the exact number off the top of my head. It's a lot of numbers. But yeah, that's another card that I use frequently because, again, I see the value in the points. I see the value in the bonus earning structure. And it's easy for me to rack up those points that I'll, you know, again, use for later travel.
So on those, is it like annually that you'll get like the Uber credit or the dining credit just for having that card? Exactly.
So the dining credits apply to Seamless and Grubhub orders, which I use fairly often. It's $10 a month, $120 annually. So, you know, divided up by 12. As well as some Shake Shack locations, Cheesecake Factory, Ruth's Chris. So it's not necessarily like any restaurant of your choosing. It has to be one of the participating ones. But for me, that was kind of a no-brainer since I use Seamless, you know, at least once a month anyway. So it's automatically. Exactly. The Uber Cash is a new benefit though. So that was exciting. They kind of pivoted in the wake of the pandemic and are helping people just take advantage of either Uber rides or Uber Eats rides with a discount as well.
So what I'm also hearing is, okay, you've got these 7 different cards, but it is not just which one happens to be on top that you're going to pull out to pay for something. It's very strategic. Like, okay, I'm going to use this to get certain, you know, 4 times rewards on dining, or I want to use this one because I'm using the Uber credit for this. Absolutely.
Like if I go grocery shopping, I bring my Amex Gold, or I also have, I missed one. I have the Amazon Prime card because I get 5% cash back. So that's, you know, I like to have somewhat of a well-rounded portfolio, but again, it's very strategic. It's very, you know, how is this going to help me maximize this purchase? And again, my advice to beginners, like, I can't say it enough. Like, you don't have to get all these cards from the very beginning. Like, start off slow. It's okay to just have one credit card until you feel comfortable. You don't need to, you know, have like a spreadsheet type of thing, or just have, a few different cards on rotation. It's totally okay to just start off with one and get comfortable first.
And that's what I was going to actually ask is, how do you organize all that? I mean, how do you come up with your strategy? Do you plan ahead what you're looking for in the future? And how do you track all these points?
Yeah, definitely. I think, there's some cards that I feel like I use more so for the perks versus the earning rates. I think a good example of that is, I'm thinking. I mean, I use my Chase Sapphire Reserve when I book hotels, but other than that, it just has good perks such as $300 travel credit, priority pass lounge access, 120 worth of DoorDash statement credits. So like I use that more so than I would use the spending on it, but I use my Amex Gold on dining. I use my Amex every day if I have to run to Target and pick something up. Or CVS or, whatever it is. Even online shopping, I use my Amex every day. I'll switch to my Chase Freedom Unlimited or my Chase Freedom if I want to earn more Chase points. Truth be told, I'm kind of more of an Amex gal, so I use my Amexes more than the Chase. But again, there's no one size fits all, and it's all personal preference. And I think that's another big takeaway from this is that it's not really a right or a wrong way to do it. If you're, earning points and saving money on future travel and not driving yourself crazy and getting overwhelmed, then you're doing it right. Like, it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be stressful. So if you find yourself getting there's too much, reassess, and you don't want to bite off more, then you can chill.
But do your homework.
Exactly. Do your homework and find the card that works for you. And, just because I have the Amex Gold, for example, might not mean that it would suit your lifestyle and your spending habits. So it's important to find the one that works for you.
And I love how you delineate between perks and benefits. That's
those are big selling points of a lot of the credit cards too, of what perks do they offer. If you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which has a $90 annual fee, $60 worth of DoorDash credits, and $60 worth of Peloton membership credits, but you don't use Peloton or DoorDash, that might not be the best card for you. So it's really, really important to do your homework. Again, we have so much information on Next Advisor. We have credit card reviews of basically every credit card you could think of under the sun. So definitely go check those out before you make any decisions as well.
And the last question on credit cards, I think, is, people worry about, well, if I have a bunch of different credit cards, is it going to hurt my credit score? So let's touch on that before we move off of the topic of credit cards.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a huge myth. I think that people are oh, if I have a lot, it's going to hurt my credit score. The most important thing you can do, as I mentioned earlier, pay your bills on time and in full every single month. That is the way to, maintain a high credit score more than anything. When you do apply for a new credit card, it does, they do a credit check, of course, and then your credit score may fluctuate a little bit, but it's what's known as a soft pull, and it's not going to, damage your credit score long term. It will dip a little bit and then it'll bounce right back up. So if you do see that, right after you apply for a credit card, that maybe it went down a few points or something, don't panic, nothing to worry about. It will go back up. And again, can't say it enough, pay your bills on time and in full.
And so shifting gears a bit to shopping portals, you're a big fan of shopping portals for earning points and miles. So tell us more about this.
Yeah, so I love airline shopping portals, and honestly, I think they're kind of underrated, especially if you do a lot of online shopping, which, guilty as charged over here. So all the major airlines partner with retailers, and they have what's known as an airline shopping portal. This includes American, Delta, Southwest, Alaska, United, JetBlue, all of the major U.S. carriers. And so instead of going to, Bloomingdale's.com, let's say you're I want to earn more Delta miles because I want to be flying Delta, in a near future. I have a trip coming up and my balance is looking a little low or something like that. So you'll just Google Delta Airlines shopping portal. You'll have to create a free account. Again, sign up for all of them or however many as you want. It's free, can't hurt. You'll link it to your Delta SkyMiles number, which is just Delta's loyalty program, also free. Also, you should sign up. Also can't hurt. And then instead of just going to, Bloomingdale's.com as an example, you'll search for Delta Airlines shopping portal, sign in, and then you'll search in the little thing for Bloomingdale's or whatever retailer. I'm just using Bloomingdale's as an example. And then it will direct you to that retailer site. So in the process, once you purchase, whatever it is you want to purchase, you're going to earn airline miles on that purchase as well. I'd also recommend keeping an eye out and even signing up for emails from some of your favorite retailers. For example, I sign up for, Delta elevated bonuses at Sephora. So the miles that you earn on Sephora purchases can fluctuate a bit, or any purchase really. So I'll sign up for emails and I'll get an email that says, Sephora is offering extra bonus points today. So if I have a purchase that I need to make that can wait, I'll kind of wait sometimes until that elevated bonus happens. So yeah, it's a really quick and effective way to earn bonus miles on purchases. And I feel like not that many people know about it.
I didn't realize that. Have you ever known that an airline has a portal that you could shop in? No.
I have, the little Sky magazine.
No.
But I also don't know what Sephora is either.
This is my favorite thing because people are always like, what? You can? I never heard of that.
No, I never have. So I guess it would also matter if you're going to whatever your airline is, you would see what retailers do they partner with, because they may not partner with it. But if you were going to buy something from that retailer anyway, and I would imagine it could be everything from Lowe's, which Sky's not shopping at Sephora perhaps for his makeup or yes.
Totally. So I just signed on quickly while we were looking. So, again, not every retailer is going to be on here, but during a quick search, I'm seeing Adidas, Macy's, Under Armour, Aeropostale, Athleta, all of these. There's a lot of stores. Bloomingdale's, Saks, pretty much every, I wouldn't say every, but most retailers are on the shopping portal. So definitely worth checking out.
Really cool. And then that links to your miles. And so it tracks it. So it's just one more way. So again, you're using maybe your credit card that you're getting miles, and you're getting more by, instead of just going directly to that website that you're going to order from anyway, going to it through that airline portal. That's huge.
Exactly. And you brought up a good point. That's known as something called double dipping, because you're earning airline miles from the shopping portal and you're earning the bonus points on your credit card that earns, even if it's, 1 point on all other purchases, it adds up. So I sound like a broken record saying it adds up, but it really does.
Great. And then you do the same approach you'll use to book with an airline or a hotel. So would you go directly to that airline or that hotel to book with them, or would you do it through a different portal like this?
So so when you're booking either a flight or hotel and you want to redeem your points, you're just going to either, Marriott.com or Delta.com, whatever it is. There's no shopping portal per se for that. But again, when you fly Delta, you'll earn miles just by flying with them as well. So they're not in the shopping portals because they're kind of just the entity, if that makes sense. A little confusing.
And then when you talk about airline basics, you have a little bit about how you earn points and miles while flying. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to share with us specifically on that?
Yeah, I would definitely sign up for all of the airlines' loyalty programs, or any airline that even if you're flying one time, it's free to sign up. You'll earn miles every time that you fly. And it's a quick and easy way to earn points. I feel like that was the OG of points earning, was just every time you fly or stay in a hotel, that's how you earn points. So definitely, a huge strategy to earn those as well.
I'm looking at Scott and asking, have you used points much to travel in the past?
Sadly, no. I'm upset with myself, and I traveled so much, but I always did it on the cheap. And this is, I think it's great for people like me. I scraped up just enough money to be able to do it. And just planned on how much money I actually had and how much time I had, never on what I can accumulate if I planned ahead. So that's why this is so beneficial for people like me, to change the way we strategize how we're going to travel.
Right.
Because I have used other perks and bonuses by signing up here and there. And you say the OG of points. I had a Delta membership. I think I signed up when I was like 11 years old.
Right.
I still am accumulating points. They go away here and there.
Okay. There you go.
Yes, this is
nice.
helpful for not just people, and I've been lucky enough to travel a bunch. This is definitely helpful for those starting out and those who have just done it wrong for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And I take it from me, I know how intimidating it can be. And really the key is to just start off slow. And, you'll get there. It really does take a lot of practice. And even now, I've been doing this for a few years, but there's people who know so much more than I do. I like to joke I'm kind of like an advanced beginner. So I get how beginners feel, but there's some people that really, really know the ins and outs of these programs. Like it's really crazy. So there's always more to learn. I'm still learning as well.
I think, Scott, like you said, there's that mindset of how much money do I have right now? Or how much money have I sort of socked away, just pulled and like maybe stored in an envelope under the dresser and then here's how much cash I have. What can I do with it? Whereas what you just said was, wow, what if I planned ahead and then use these? So I think that's sort of what we're encouraging our audience to think about is these are things we're going to be buying groceries anyway. There's certain expenses that they're not necessarily a luxury that, just charge it. But it's like, okay, if these are things we're going to do anyway, instead of the old fashioned checkbook or cash or debit card, start accruing these. And even if you only have one card, we'll link to the article that Samantha's talking about that kind of breaks down the different perks and benefits of the cards, but maybe pick that one that makes the most sense for you. And that's what you use everything for. I mentioned we have the Southwest card. I put everything possible on that I would be buying anyway. And there's, depending on I've even talked to people who they can find a way that they might find ways to pay things that you wouldn't think you would pay by credit card, and they can in order to get those miles. What are some cool stories? So when we're talking about, okay, now how do we use our points to travel the world? What are some things that you've done it on the cheap or based on points or stories you have of other people that are kind of our success stories to hear?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really glad you asked that. And before I answer this, I want to kind of address a question that I feel like a lot of beginners have as well, which is when do I even use my points for my flight versus when do I just pay in cash? And again, there's not really a hard and fast answer. And the way that I see it, there's kind of two schools of thought here. You can either use them for, what otherwise would be very expensive international business class or first class flights, which in those cases, you're going to get so much more bang for your buck, which I'll give an example in a second. Or you can use them for, more domestic flights, which you'll get literally and figuratively more mileage out of because of course they're cheaper. So, there's not necessarily a wrong or a right. I just know my personal style. I would rather use them on business class and first class, again, kind of post-pandemic when we can do that a lot more because otherwise they would cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. A great example of this, to answer your question, is I went to Japan. Actually, I was there 2 years ago to the date almost. I went to Japan 2 years ago. It was absolutely the most magical place. I'm almost as obsessed with it as I am with New Orleans, which says something. So when I came home, again, this is definitely more of an advanced strategy, but I was able to transfer my Amex points to Aeroplan, which is Air Canada's loyalty program, also free. And I transferred, I believe it was about 75,000 Amex points to fly home in business class from Japan. It's a 13, 14-hour flight. Definitely wanted to get a little comfy there. And I think maybe $100 or so in taxes. But if I had paid for that flight, just, aircanada.com and plugged in the dates and pressed confirm, probably would have cost at least $4,000 or $5,000, which I most certainly was not going to pay for.
Wow.
So that was a really fun one. And, you get the seat that turns into a bed, you get the free food and alcohol. And it's really it really changes the game, when you travel, because this is something that so many people probably wouldn't be doing without those points and miles. So I always find that I can get the most use out of them by saving them. And building up those balances and then using them for business or first class flights like that. But again, it's a personal preference, and either at the end of the day, as long as you're saving money and traveling and going where you want to go, that's a win in my book.
There's also, when I'm thinking, like my husband, normal times, not as much with COVID, but he travels a lot, totally. Just, even like an overnight to Houston, and a lot of the work he does is there. And so he uses Southwest, flies back and forth with Houston, but then we always stay in the same hotel properties. And so even when he's staying for work and it's very functional travel, it's not at all something that's for, I mean, there's an element of fun, I guess, with work, but it's functional travel for work. But he'll specifically stay in that same hotel chain so that we're accumulating points. And actually, when we went on our honeymoon, we found the place that we love to go to travel, that Scott's heard me talk about this. It's a place called Moorea. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's just beautiful. And the whole reason we found that place, that we went for our honeymoon, is because it was at the time Starwood, which is now Marriott, correct?
Yep,
so
exactly.
Marriott properties absorbed Starwood, but at the time, Starwood was like the Sheraton, W hotels and stuff like that. So he would always stay, or Westin. He would always stay at a Westin, and so he accumulated all these Starwood miles. So for our honeymoon, we literally pulled up all of the Starwood hotels in the world and said, okay, where do we want to go for our honeymoon? Because he had saved all these points for traveling for work. And so that was how we discovered this really cool place that we might not have otherwise gone, was because it was basically like, where in the world can we go? That also, by the way, has a Starwood.
Exactly. And then it's free, maybe plus taxes and fees, but that's a fraction of what you'd be paying if you paid for the nightly rate outright. And even just business travel in general, that's a really great way to rack up those points, because you'll stay at the same hotels or fly the same airline, and you'll see that account balance grow fairly quickly.
Within a couple, like we may have, Scott and I aren't traveling a ton for work, but if our spouses or someone's partner is doing that, then we can kind of have that. And then it sounds like, and they call them loyalty programs, I guess, for a reason, because it sounds like they want us to be loyal because they want to have our return business. But for us, it also benefits us to be loyal because we can accumulate those.
Exactly. And I think that's really the gist of it, honestly. I think that, once the light bulb goes over your head and that kind of clicks, then everything else makes sense. But I've been in that situation where it's just like, this is really intimidating. I don't even know where to start. So again, it's just practice, and the comfort kind of comes with time.
What other cool travels have either you done or have people shared with you that's kind of been their like points negotiations have gotten them these really cool opportunities?
Yeah. So my way to Japan was honestly probably one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me. I flew there in Japan Airlines first class. I have an article on TPG about it. I reviewed the flight, which was really awesome. So because it was a review flight, it was covered by the company. But what we did is we paid, I forgot the exact number off the top of my head. We paid 70,000 Alaska Airlines miles for this flight that otherwise would have cost $20,000 one way.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely absurd. When I said this is the coolest thing to ever happen to me, it was literally the coolest thing to ever happen to me.
The flight would be $20,000? What kind of flight is this?
It's insane. It's like it looks like a throne almost.
Wow.
It was so cool.
You mean the seat looks like a throne?
A little bit. It felt like one. I just felt like a princess. I was like, how is this real life? I think about it all the time. Like, that was just so, it was so once in a lifetime. And I truly am just so grateful for that. It's
so it was
really
like
crazy.
A first class flight to Alaska?
Yeah. Wow. To Japan. To Japan.
Oh, this is Japan. Okay.
So we used Alaska Airlines miles, which are very, very valuable and very, basically you can unlock, I keep doing this quote thingy, but you can unlock these really cool flights that those 70,000, I believe, are worth between $1,200 and $1,400-ish dollars, which still, definitely not cheap, but far less expensive than $20,000 dollars. Yeah, so that was fun. Good thing I went right before COVID too. So that worked out.
That's really, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. But I mean, I think both of these examples honestly just highlight the cool things that you can do. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to rack up hundreds of thousands, if not more, worth of points or miles overnight. But, be persistent, stick at it, and it will happen.
And just like our example of our honeymoon that came from points that my husband had accumulated. And also, if you're looking at the timer on a wedding, there's so many other expenses. It's like, I don't know if we really would have been able to do that, And so it allowed us to have that opportunity that we might not have otherwise.
Yeah.
And then, so any kind of like when you're looking at now someone's, okay, they're starting to work with either the different cards or the different shopping portals, the loyalty programs with airlines or hotels. Mm-hmm. How do you start to take this and translate it into planning out your travel to maybe take trips that we wouldn't otherwise, to kind of like, because that's with this adventure series, what Scott and I are also encouraging is if you're typically going to that same vacation, now maybe with this points and having other access that you can do it a little bit more on the cheap, branching out beyond new places.
Yeah, definitely. So travel's coming back. It's coming back strong. So I would definitely, even, pre-pandemic, I would tell people don't sit on your points and miles for too long, because airlines, hotels have a way of kind of like devaluing them, aka making you use more to redeem for the same flight or hotel stay or whatever it is. So definitely start looking into those things sooner rather than later. I would also recommend, so let's say that you have a really specific trip in mind, whether you want to, stay at a certain hotel or you want to fly on a certain airline. Make sure that the credit card that you're getting, you can transfer those points to that hotel or airline. I want to also circle back on that in a second too, but that's really important because you don't want to, rack up all these Chase points, for example, and then you want to fly Delta. I'm just using an example. You can't transfer Chase to Delta. You can transfer Amex to Delta. So it's important to, again, do your research here. Figure out which airlines and hotels you can transfer your credit card points to before you start really like racking them up. If you don't have anything in mind, that's totally fine as well. You don't need to have something in mind. It's just, this really, it just kind of underscores the point that it's all a personal decision and there's not necessarily a best credit card. It's just the one that kind of helps you hit your goals, et cetera. So something I wanted to mention as well is when it is time to book your trip, there's two ways to do it. You can either use your credit card issuer's portal. So Amex, has a travel portal, Chase has a travel portal, or you can transfer those points to any given, the airline or hotel of your choice within their transfer program. So tell me if I lose you here, because I know it can be a lot. So the transferring bit, that's definitely more advanced, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get more bang for your buck and better value by transferring versus using the portal. For example, Hyatt Hotels, they're a partner of Chase. They transfer at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning for every Chase point you transfer to Hyatt, you get 1 Hyatt point in return. And they transfer instantaneously too, which is great. So if you, have a certain Hyatt hotel that you want to stay in mind, I would recommend going to Hyatt.com, checking the rate, and then also going through the Chase travel portal and checking that same rate at the same hotel, same dates, everything the same, and seeing which one is the better deal. Again, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be just looking and transferring directly to Hyatt. And this is just an example, but I would always recommend checking both how many points you would need if you transferred and then how many points you would need just by using the portal directly.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I think there's definitely people who have been doing this for far longer than I have who will try to squeeze every cent that they can out of any what's called an award redemption, redeeming your points for travel. But like I keep saying, as long as you are using those points to go where you want to go and it's your dream trip and you're not spending a cent or a fraction as you would have done otherwise, it's all good. Like, don't worry about always trying to get like the best deal possible. There's been plenty of times where I'm like, I should not have used my points on that.
So looking at what would something cost buying it straight from that, hotel or whatever, or also doing it through, like, I think about when we do rental cars, you can go straight to the rental car platform, or I keep saying Southwest because that's what we travel, but like, so we can also do it through the Southwest platform and then price out which is cheaper. So is that rental car from Avis, or any cars, like what is it if I'm going directly to that rental car versus if I'm checking it out on the Southwest platform?
Totally. I think with a lot of things in travel, it's always important to quote unquote like shop around and just kind of find the best deal. And it definitely takes a little bit of work. I'd be lying if I said that this was an easy hobby and it wasn't time consuming. It definitely can be. Even just checking dates and checking availability. And unfortunately, just because you have all the points that you want to use for any given flight doesn't mean that you can use them on the exact date that you want to use them. You do absolutely have to have some flexibility here. But it pays off. So it's always good to just kind of check to see where the best rate is, best deal, and be patient. It really, it's a lot of luck and patience to find the right thing.
So that kind of leads into one of my questions as far as use of the points during peak times of travel. For me, I always think of ski season. So there's certain weeks that are peak time for going to certain resorts. Does that affect the ratio that you can use as far as points, or even if you can utilize those points?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you guys a perfect example. During Jazz Fest, during the second weekend, I was, just looking for different hotels. As the last time I checked, it could have changed now, but when I checked a few weeks ago, the JW Marriott was completely booked the second weekend. They were open the first weekend, but of course, all of the rates were peak rates, which means it was, I believe, $60,000 per night. And as an aside to that, hotels have what's known as categories. So they group different, types of their hotels in different categories. And depending on if it's on peak, off peak, or standard, those rates can fluctuate within that category. So yeah, that's a great example of course, everyone wants to come to New Orleans during Jazz Fest in October. Book your hotels ASAP before those rates go up, because like they know it's going up. So
again,
to answer your question, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Plan ahead and being flexible on some of the days, because it could even be that maybe you would say, okay, I want to do it, a Saturday to a Saturday, but maybe different days of the week might be
for sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, weekends tend to be higher no matter what. Jazz Fest, no Jazz Fest, New Orleans or not New Orleans. So, it's again, that's where the flexibility comes in and the patience. And if you do have that flexibility built in and you're not set on certain dates for anything, not even just Jazz Fest at this point, it can be helpful to kind of check the overall calendar and see what comes up.
So when we're talking about getting started, because there's a lot to think about. So credit cards, we'll be able to link to some of your articles that really guide people on what are some of the specific perks of different cards. And then you can kind of look through it and see what makes the most sense for you and how you would end up using these rewards or these perks. The portals, the online shopping portals that can help us earn there as well, the different loyalty programs. So what's the first thing that you would tell someone to do? Like if they're they're Scott. Yeah. What do we do?
Tell me what to do.
So I would say, first of all, take a deep breath, because I know that this can be so overwhelming and your head's probably spinning and it's a lot of information to like absorb. But you'll get there. So I would then say, kind of start on either NextAdvisor or TPG. We both have a ton of resources on like our favorite travel credit cards. You can even just search NextAdvisor Samantha Rosen or Points Guy Samantha Rosen. A lot of my coverage so far has kind of touched on a lot of what we've touched on here. And find kind of the credit card that is going to match your spending habits and your travel goals. As well as, it might not make sense for you to get a high annual fee card right off the bat, even though it will come with more perks, but you might not want to jump in right from the very beginning. So that would be the first thing. I would also say sign up for all of the loyalty programs, whether it's airlines and hotels, or even ones that you kind of have on your radar as far as, I may still stay in a Hilton hotel later in the summer. Make sure that you are signed up for all those programs. They're all free. They're all very easy to use. They take 2 minutes to sign up, if that. And then every time that you either fly on that airline or stay in that hotel, log into your account, book directly through there, and then you'll earn points, on that flight or on that hotel stay. Same thing goes with the shopping portal. Once you sign up for those loyalty programs, sign up for the corresponding shopping portals, as well as the dining programs, which I know we didn't touch on, but very similar to the shopping portal bit, where you can earn points miles just by dining out at some of the participating restaurants, which, huge for me, as I'm sure it is for you guys as well in NOLA. I would sign up for those programs too. They're also free. So I think doing those things will be very beneficial in kind of like getting you on some solid footing, get you a little bit more familiar with the different products and different ways to kind of start earning these points and miles. Also, as a word to the wise, I most definitely would not sign up for more than one credit card at a time. Because as I mentioned before, each credit card has what's called a sign-up bonus or a welcome offer. Again, it varies, but you can earn a certain amount of points in a certain amount of time by spending on that credit card. But if you're trying to hit 2 or 3 of those at once, that's a lot of money that you got to spend, not that much time. So, if you're considering getting more than one card, I would kind of break it up and make sure that you hit this sign-up bonus and then hit this and then hit this. But again, key point here is you don't want to, spend more than you can afford and spend just to earn the sign-up bonus. But definitely something to keep an eye out for if you feel comfortable earning the sign-up bonuses and it does fit with your budget, that, you're not signing up for more at once, because that could get dicey for some people, I think.
And you've written also that, to kind of sum it all up.
Yeah.
Thinking overall, what's your travel goal, your travel strategy, and seeing what's your end goal of what you're looking to do, and then how much do you need to save to get there. So like you say, okay, is it just going to be this like wildly luxurious flight like Samantha's throne over to Japan? Or are you just like,
to tell you I know it's absurd.
Then, or is it Scott saying, I want to take my son Jackson rock climbing. And so he's like, but Jackson doesn't care what kind of the flight it is. Scott wants to do it cheap. So what's your end goal of what you want to do? And then how many points or miles or whatever do you need to achieve that? And that starts to let you even see like what your goal is. And then you can also know like your measuring stick of how close you are to that each month or each quarter.
Totally. And that's such a good point. You also don't necessarily need to know the exact point value and have like every detail of your trip mapped out before you even sign up for a credit card, but you want to at least have an idea of like, oh, okay, I'll use my Amex points to, transfer to Air Canada to fly home from Japan. Again, I'm just using me as an example here. Or you might want to just say, I want to earn Chase points because I know I can transfer them to Southwest, or I can transfer them to, Hyatt hotels, for example, and I'll have more flexibility there. And I don't really care about, flying in business or first class. I just want to rack up as many as I can and take my family on a trip to, Florida or LA or whatever it is. So that's okay too. Like you don't have to know the exact numbers, but try to have a general sense of like where you would maybe like to go and how to possibly get there.
Well, yeah, simply even to know that airline goes there.
Right. Exactly. Like you don't want to earn all these points and then say, oh, wait, I don't even know how to get there. And of course, these days, everything is so fluid and changing frequently, but hopefully in the not too distant future, we have more places that we can go to.
Do you have other questions? I have one more.
More towards skiing. So sorry.
Yeah.
This is for information for future casts as well. What about some of those larger resorts? Do they couple with airlines or other credit card companies? So I'm thinking of a conglomerate like Vail Resorts. So they're a huge entity. Have you seen benefits or rewards going through them?
So admittedly, I'm not really familiar with skiing. I'm more of a beach gal than a skiing girl. So I'm not familiar with some big skiing things. I know TPG has done a bunch on Vail Resorts, so I would look into that a little bit. But
and for our listeners, she's talking about the Points Guy. So when she says TPG, the Points Guy.
Sorry. Yeah.
So thepointsguy.com. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just not totally sure what Vail Resorts' loyalty program is, as well as if they partner with any airline. I do believe that they have a loyalty program, and again, if they do, it's likely free, so it can't hurt to sign up for that.
So do your homework. Got it.
Yes, exactly. Yes, skiing unfortunately isn't my major area of expertise.
That's all I really had.
I was going to ask your organization system for it. So if someone's doing this and because there's moving parts, do you have any recommendations for people of how to kind of organize the benefits, the perks, and kind of where they are with each of these?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I personally, I'm somewhat of an anomaly because it's also my job. So like I kind of memorize the majority of these numbers to some extent. And so I kind of just know what to use because of it's just so ingrained in my brain at this point every day. But for the average credit card user, however you prefer to keep yourself organized, whether that's, a note on your phone or a spreadsheet that kind of lists, okay, these are the cards that I have, these are their earning rates, these are their perks, even this is when the annual fee hits. Anything that can kind of help you visualize when these things are coming up. And, we talked about this before a little bit too, but when you're just starting out, it's A-okay to just have one, even 2 credit cards. Like you don't need to have a handful right off the bat that you're constantly, rotating between. It's more important to keep yourself organized and know what you have in your wallet and the best way to maximize it. And in an easy way that's right in front of you before you start, going and getting more cards.
I feel like the spreadsheet seems like an approachable thing, you know? And then you can kind of organize it by if there's an annual fee or the dates of like you said, when certain things hit, or if there's certain deadlines of when you need to use something by, like
absolutely
that you've got this 3-month window to use whatever this perk is, kind of keeping it all there.
Yeah. And even any benefits that are possibly, limited time. A lot of credit card issuers introduce like limited perks because of the pandemic that are, either expiring soon or just that's the end of them soon. So that's another easy way to keep track of it. But I should probably take my own advice and make a spreadsheet because I feel like I need one of those. It would be
a cool thing maybe to have on y'all's website one day. Yeah, I love that when people tell us.
I know. It's a great idea.
Well, look what we should do. Oh, you should. And you're like, oh my God, that's a giant thing. But what I'm about to say, I think it's probably giant to where people could put in like, I don't even know what it would look like, but if people could put in like what their normal spending habits are, and then it would direct them to the credit card that would be best for them.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I had thought of something like that before, and I know the Points Guy is launching an app soon as well, which I believe will kind of have all of that info, wrapped up in a nice bow as well. But it's interesting because there's not really many tools handy for this. Like there's a lot of information, but there's not necessarily a lot of like, okay, now
pulling
what?
It all
like,
together.
Right. Like, I mean, I know people that have 15, 20 credit cards and they, I believe, have spreadsheets, but that's kind of, I feel like that's kind of the go-to is people just make a spreadsheet.
This has been really helpful, and just I think starting to think of things in a little bit different lens than maybe what someone has, especially the person who is like doing the responsible thing. I'm going to pay cash for something. I'm going to pay I'm only going to use the money I have now to do this, but it's not a license to just spend willy-nilly. It's, as Scott said, it's kind of planning ahead and thinking, how can I do this more strategically? Because if we're going to be spending this money anyway, making it work for us.
Yep. Couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's really, really important. And again, if you take nothing else away from this, I think that's what I want, listeners to know is not spend more than they can afford or get a credit card just because it looks cool and it has, fancy perks. You really have to find something that matches your spending habits and your lifestyle and even your travel goals, because that's what's going to help you, fly to Japan first class.
Get you to your throne. Yes.
So we'll have for our viewers and our listeners, we'll have links to Samantha's content. There's a lot that she's created that's already there that is, this is the tip of the iceberg. And then that you can kind of dig into to get even more information on each of these different topics that we've talked about. So Samantha, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
This was so fun. Eye-opening. Thank you.
Of course. It's my pleasure. If you guys ever have questions, let me know.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Talk soon.
So tremendous thank you to Samantha for joining us for this podcast, sharing her expertise on navigating all things related to budget travel and maximizing those points, miles, rewards program, everything. Thank you to Scott Wonke for joining me throughout this 12-week series, and also to Ochsner Health and Ochsner Health and Wellness Solutions and our VP, Deidre Diaz, for actually giving us this opportunity and making this a priority for all of us. And as always, I'll include the links that we talked about in the show notes of this episode. And let me know what you think as you're incorporating any of these strategies, as you've got your own travel planning going. We want to hear about it. I am registered dietitian Molly Kimball, and you've been listening to Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, the podcast. If you would like more Fueled Wellness and Nutrition, please head over to mollykimball.com. And you can follow me, Molly Kimball RD, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. And join us next week for another dose of Fueled Wellness and Nutrition. Thanks for listening, and stay focused on living your strongest, healthiest life.